The desert wind had finally stilled. For the first time in living memory, the hot, grit-laden Khamsin that had scoured the land for 40 days breathed its last. On this night, a profound and impossible silence settled over the Nile Valley, a silence so deep it felt like a presence. In the royal city of Thebes, the great wife of the pharaoh, a woman whose name was Neferur, stood on her balcony. The air was cool, almost sweet. She could smell the damp earth from the river and the night-blooming jasmine, scents usually lost to the roar of the wind. Above, the sky was not the familiar hazy bronze, but a velvet-black expanse dusted with 1,000,000 sharp, unwinking stars. The moon, a sliver of silver, hung perfectly still, as if holding its breath. "It is done," she whispered to the stillness. The words were not hers alone. They were the words of the land. Earlier that day, in the stifling silence of the inner sanctum, the high priest Ammonius had emerged, his face pale, his hands trembling. He did not speak of visions or oracles. He simply said, "The god is satisfied. The balance is restored." The great cosmic scales of Ma'at, which had tilted so dangerously towards chaos, were once again level. Down in the workers' village of Deir el-Medina, the usual sounds of squabbling children, barking dogs, and gossiping women were absent. The people sat outside their mud-brick homes, not on reed mats to shield from the blowing sand, but on the bare, cool ground. They looked up at the stars, a sight most had never seen with such clarity. An old scribe, his back bent from a lifetime of carving hieroglyphs into tomb walls, felt a tear trace a path through the dust on his cheek. He was remembering a story his own grandfather had told of a night like this, a night that came only once in 10 generations. On the Nile, a lone fisherman in his papyrus skiff let his oars rest. The water was a perfect, black mirror, reflecting the cosmos, so completely it was impossible to tell where the river ended and the sky began. He felt no need to cast his net. The peace was sustenance enough. Even the animals were hushed. The jackals that nightly serenaded the moon from the western hills were silent. The bats that flitted from the temples did so without a sound. In the royal menagerie, the leopards and hyenas, creatures of noise and fury, lay down in their enclosures and slept a deep, untroubled sleep. For Neferur, watching from her height, the peace was not merely an absence of sound. It was an active, breathing thing. It was the peace of the first moment after creation, when the primordial mound rose from the waters of Nun and Adam first contemplated the world. It was the peace of the tomb, not as an end, but as a promise of rest and regeneration. It was the peace of the field of reeds, where the justified dead walked in eternal, sun-drenched bliss. She knew this night would be recorded in the annals, not with tales of battle or grand monuments, but with a single, simple line. The year the wind ceased and the heart of the two lands was still. A cool breeze, gentle as a mother's sigh, stirred the linen curtains beside her. It carried no sand, only the scent of the river and the distant lotus flowers. Neferur closed her eyes and breathed it in. On this night, in all of Egypt, from the delta marshes to the first cataract, not a single sword was drawn, not a single voice was raised in anger, and not a single soul wept. The gods, for one fleeting night, had turned their faces fully towards their people, and in their gaze all strife was forgotten. It was the most peaceful night in the long, storied history of the Black Land. And for that one night, eternity did not feel like such a distant dream.